In this video, we're going to go over some new Fallout 76 news. There's been a few interesting things to happen over the past few days. Bethesda brought some stealth changes to the Battle Pass system in-game, except this time they're actually positive, good changes that are benefiting players. Outside of that, Fallout 76 recently released on Xbox GamePass and immediately was met with several issues that are fairly game-breaking. And also, there was a pretty major ban wave to just pop up, and although ban waves tend to be a very positive thing for the game, if anything, we need a lot more of them, it also left me kind of scratching my head as this has some pretty bizarre aspects to it. We're going to talk about all of that and even a little bit more around Fallout 76 in this video. If you guys enjoy the content, you can get subscribed. If you guys do want to support the channel in an extra way, I do have my merch store linked down below if you want to check it out for yourself, but otherwise, let's take a look first at some of the Game Pass problems that popped up with Fallout 76, and this is one of those things that it just left me going, really, Bethesda? So Fallout 76 just came out on Game Pass. Now, if you're not familiar with Game Pass, it's a subscription service offered by Microsoft for both PC and Xbox One. What this means is, just for paying a monthly payment, you get access to a plethora of games, and Fallout 76 was just added to it. Overall, on the Xbox One itself, it seems like this is a pretty big success. A lot of people enjoying the game, an influx of new players that are just trying new things out. Maybe we're contemplating giving the game a try after Wastelanders, but this is what's pushing them over the edge to finally give it a try. But on PC, the initial experience for many hasn't been quite as positive, as what we found was, after you had a 76GB download for the PC version of the game, which of course is pretty large, as users tried to play, they were met with a variety of errors. One such one being this one. As I tried to log into the game using my Game Pass subscription, I was met with an error saying my account didn't have privileges to connect to the multiplayer mode, which is just bizarre. And then even further, several other users had issues persisting beyond this one, where there was a no region ping error, which was a weird and new one that seemed to really only pop up with Game Pass. So to make a long story short as to what's happening here, basically, if you downloaded Fallout 76 via Xbox Game Pass on PC and installed it on a drive that wasn't your boot drive or your C drive, you would get this error. And of course, as I'm sure many of you can imagine, doing so is pretty common. A lot of people do install games on a separate drive that they have dedicated to that, as many people use an SSD or something similar for a boot drive and then have slower drives for subsequent ones. There's some help articles around this and how to fix it, but they weren't really helpful. It seems like the true fix was basically that Fallout 76, or as it's known via Game Pass, Project76.exe, was creating a configuration file in the wrong area. So if that configuration file wasn't on your boot drive, the game would run into all these problems. For many people, just moving that file would fix this, but in general, this is a pretty big blunder for Bethesda, because that fix wasn't immediately obvious, and people weren't easily able to find that, as initially one of the fixes was discovered to just be moving the game in its entirety to your C drive. Technically, you only really need to move the INI file, but people are deleting stuff, trying to uninstall other games off their boot drive just to move Fallout 76 there, just to play it for the first time. Fortunately, Bethesda did come around shortly thereafter with fixes, and it seems like right now, if you download it, things work appropriately. For me, just after a restart, it did fix itself, but it seems like that was because they shipped one of the updates to this, and it seems like right now, this problem has large in part been fixed, which is a good thing. But it's another one of those instances where I'm just left thinking, how does this happen? I feel like I could do a whole rant on this just out of frustration, but from Bethesda's perspective, you have a game that unfortunately has a reputation for being buggy or having issues, because it has had a lot of issues during its lifespan, in particular at release. Now you get this opportunity to introduce it to a new audience, many existing Game Pass subscribers that will just give it a try, because why not? They're already subscribed, it's no additional cost to play the game. You heard the Wastelanders DLC brought big improvements, so I want to try them out for myself. Then immediately as you do that, you're met with this. It's just bad and reflective of a common problem we keep seeing from Bethesda, where there's just these little dumb mistakes that keep popping up. And for a lot of companies, you could be like, all right, it was just an accident, something happened. But with how often or frequently it's happening with Bethesda, it really makes you feel like there is something larger going on here. A systematic failure of some kind is happening internally. Although fortunately, outside of that, we also were met with some more good news around Fallout 76, or at least kind of good news, as there was a fairly major ban wave to occur right after this new dupe method went live. As many of you saw a couple of days ago, I made a video talking about the new dupe method in game. It's unfortunately very simple to do and applicable on all three systems. I won't go into how, but it's abusing something around vendors, so trading with another NPC in game and then doing something allows you to dupe. And although typically, and I even talked about this in my video, Bethesda waits a couple of weeks before having a ban wave, this time they didn't, as we saw a ban wave almost within 24 hours of this really going mainstream and becoming popular. In one of the Facebook communities I'm a part of, we could see a ton of screenshots of users complaining about being banned, some of the ban emails themselves going live. Interesting point with this, it seems like for this wave, it was also those temporary suspension emails. So technically the users weren't permanent banned, but rather temporarily suspended pending investigation. So they kind of did an initial ban wave for anyone detected, but some people may have false positives, or I imagine that's their thinking with temp suspensions. It's interesting with these because sometimes these end up converting to full-on permabans. Other times in the past, we've seen Bethesda do this very odd thing where they'll ship out temporary suspensions and they'll only be upgraded to limited time suspensions. You'll see an email like this one where Bethesda describes that once the exploit is patched out, they will be unbanned after a later patch. So sometimes a few months down the line, people are unbanned, and sometimes their duped items are removed, other times the duped items aren't removed. But in general, Bethesda was quick on this one. Definitely a grade A job by them. It seems like at least hundreds, if not thousands of users were banned as a result of this. You'd find many reports all throughout different communities, although it seems like it's definitely slowed down as we've gone into the weekend now. So all's good, right? Except no, not really, because even though Bethesda did do a ban wave, and that did inspire a lot of fear among people abusing this dupe, they didn't actually do anything to stop the dupe. As I mentioned before, a lot of these banned emails went out on July 9th, so now 3 days ago. In the past couple of days, I haven't seen many new ban emails come out, and many people have just gone back to abusing the dupe like they were before, because no steps have been taken to stop that. And you might be thinking, oh, well, those people will just get banned, and yeah, most likely we'll see more bans go out as Bethesda goes back into the office on Monday and in the ensuing weeks. The problem being, most of these bans don't really matter because many of these users were duping on burner accounts. They do the duping on one specific account, trade the valuable items to a second mule account where they are stored or traded via caps in the economy, or even traded and sold on eBay for real world money. So for a lot of these instances of bans, people were still and already able to actually trade away those items. It's not like the economy is somehow saved by this ban wave, and again, people have just continued duping over the past couple of days because that wasn't cut off either. So although the quick ban wave is definitely a good step, I'm happy to see it, it's also kind of odd. It's better we had the ban wave than didn't have the ban wave, but it also would have been a lot better if either vendors were somehow disabled, or just trading with NPCs was temporarily disabled, or just hotfix the dupe overall. There's this thing with Bethesda where it's like, employees don't really work on weekends despite it being a live service, always online game. Maybe I'm just totally misguided on this, but I would think something like a widespread dupe method that is going to damage the in-game economy would be a good reason to work on a Saturday. Or at least something you have to expect to do from time to time, again, because you're going into live service games. It kind of comes with the platform. Although fortunately, outside of just the ban wave, we have some more purely positive news, as some changes were added to the Battle Pass this past week that are very, very interesting. There was a lot of calculations and discussion around how many points or score you could get per week to actually complete the Battle Pass in 10 weeks. Except, as the second week of this Battle Pass did begin, we got more challenges, and overall, you could gain more score in a week. During the first week, you had 7 daily challenges worth 2,000 score overall if you completed every single one in that day. But with the start of the second week, you now have 9 daily challenges, and this has thus far been per day, worth 2,500 score per day. The weekly challenges are exactly the same, still worth 7,500 score per week, but that 500 score per day upgrade is quite significant. Originally, those calculations were used doing a hypothetical 21,500 score per week if you did everything, but now you could get 25,000 if you do everything, making it significantly easier to complete the Battle Pass overall in those 10 weeks. It's not totally clear if this is actually a response to some of the pushback that was found around the score gain during the Battle Pass. I haven't seen an official response by Bethesda, or if this was just always planned. Maybe each week we'll just see a slightly different number of daily challenges. That'd be kind of weird. I don't think that's the reasoning, but it could have been. We'll of course know much better next week as things reset again, but it is interesting. This makes it so if you are completing everything every week, you should be well able to complete the battle pass and reach level 100 even without the experience requirement. And then when you add the experience requirement on top, this overall makes it so if you are active, you could still miss some days and still be okay. Although one of the interesting things about this battle pass, having seen it over the past week or so, it definitely is making it so people are playing more. This also could be a byproduct of the new Game Pass edition, although I noticed these numbers even before that. Take for example in Nuclear Winter, I am much more often getting full lobbies. In the past on PC, before the Battle Pass, sometimes even getting 30 players in the couple months after Wastelanders was rare. Now on PC, you could get almost full lobbies much more often. Although unfortunately, as a result of this, even though there are more players, the Nuclear Winter mode is still kind of a joke. Like take this clip, an example where in about 30 seconds, I found 6 AFK users, just very common to either use bots or just log into the mode and immediately AFK. And if you play regularly, you'll oftentimes find these users joining in on your team, so you're at a fairly significant disadvantage right off the bat. But even outside of that, if you check out the Steam charts, you can see the player count average is back up to 12.5 thousand or so. It's bouncing around between 11 and 13,000, but in the couple of weeks before the Battle Pass release, we were all the way down at 6, 7, 8,000. So it is a fairly significant addition, and now 1 week later, we're still maintaining those consistent numbers. The next patch for the game is about 3 weeks away, slightly over 3 weeks in total, so I do wonder if these numbers will hold, but it's definitely a good first impression. The Battle Pass is definitely effective at getting people to play more often, and with the addition of Xbox GamePass and a whole subset of users on PC via the Microsoft Store, the Steam player count is even a smaller chunk of the overall pie, so there's probably more players right now than there have been for a long time. Although with this, there still is this lingering problem that has yet to be addressed where challenges will autocomplete and you'll miss out on score for the day. Bethesda is aware of this, they have responded to several posts mentioning it, but no official fix has been posted. Although one tip that has been talked about or shared with the community somewhat to actually avoid this happening, challenges reset at 12 p.m. Eastern time every day, and it seems like that's a critical point for not having this happen to you. Basically, around 12 p.m. Eastern time for those daily challenges, just be logged out. So let's say 15 minutes before 11:45 Eastern time to 12:15 Eastern time, don't play adventure mode, and even more importantly, when you first log back in after the reset, connect to a public adventure mode server, not Nuclear Winter or not a private world. So let's say you're playing the game, you realize, oh, it's 11:30, maybe just log off for an hour or so, or even just 45 minutes. And then as you join back in, even if you were on a private world before, log directly into adventure mode, then log off that and go play whatever you want. This isn't a comprehensive fix, it doesn't seem like it's avoiding all problems, but people doing this are reporting much better results in challenges not auto-completing. But of course, until Bethesda responds, it'll still probably be a problem at least somewhat. Although on Nuclear Winter, it seems like hacking has become much less of a problem in the mode, it just doesn't really seem as common. It's not totally clear if this is a direct result of Bethesda or even such as the recent update to one of the common hacking tools with Erectus was edited so hacking no longer worked in Nuclear Winter with that tool. It seems like one of the main reasons for this is it kind of removes a bit of a target. Hacking in adventure mode is mostly just personal benefit. Hacking in Nuclear Winter comes at a much more significant cost to other players' experience. Although one other thing, you could still complete those Nuclear Winter challenges for the past limited time events. Seems like Bethesda is not going to fix that until the next patch, so you have about 3 more weeks to grind those. Although with all that being said, I thank you guys again for watching. Hopefully you found this video informative, but until next time, I hope to see you all later.